Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open. I'm Tandy, and this is Bomat. Say hi, Bomat.
Hi, Bo Matt.
I'm gonna get you one time. I'm just gonna say something else, and you're just gonna be like,
Yeah, you're gonna make it hard for me. I know.
yeah, yeah. But we have 8 players left in the room for today's main event. This $5,000 Open started with 130 players. By far the biggest event we've had here at the Apex Gaming home store in Caldwell, Ohio. Big shout out to them for having a huge expansion next door where we were able to comfortably seat the 130 players in today's event. On top of that, we had a full slate of side events, including the ReCQ, which is commonplace with these destination event RCQs, where if you're knocked out in the first 3 rounds, you have a second chance, where if you go 5-0, you qualify for the regional championship in Atlanta. And
Yeah,
our good friend Robin Gonzalez won today's ReCQ, so congrats to her.
congrats.
Yeah, we'll also be crowning one more qualification for the regional championship today. Our winner of today's Apex 5K modern event will be going to Atlanta as well. The 2 finalists will be granted invitation to the Apex Invitational in November. On top of that, the winner of today's event will be given this Expressive Iteration playmat, and our entire top 8 will be given a huge pool or a huge swag bag from Ultimate Guard, and we'll be giving all that away here for the top 8. What's up, big man? You got something for me? All right, cool. So he's coming to grab all the Ultimate Guard swag. He's going to take it over to the top 8 players. We're going to be having that underway here in just a minute. We got our feature matches about ready to go. We were waiting on one match for a little while, so we apologize for the delay, but we'll get started here very shortly. Before we get started with that, though, Matt, why don't you break down not only the match we'll be seeing, but the bracket as a whole, and tell me what we're going to be watching.
All right. Our first seed is Mason Clark. You've been seeing him for quite a lot of matches now, playing Rakdos Evoke.
Yep.
Then running through the rest of the top 8, we have Marcus Davanzati on Temur Rhinos, Garrett Widman on Creativity, Amin Ibadi on Blue White Hammer, Trey Natalie on 8-Rack, Cody DeBoss on Rakdos Evoke, James Manguise on 4-Color Omnath, and TJ Radazik on Golgari Yawgmoth.
That's
Apologize.
TJ. No, it's okay. TJ Radizak.
TJ Radazik.
TJ Razak is a friend of ours. He's been cruising on the Apex series for about a year and a half, 2 years now. One of our better players. Today he's playing Golgari Yawgmoth. Normally he's a Murktide guy, but decided to put it down in favor of the Doctor.
Yeah, worked out great. We did see a lot of Yawgmoth early on in this tournament, and he is the one that walked away with the top 8 finish. More to come from him. And yeah, this is very exciting. Our first round, we're going to be featuring Trey Natalie on 8-Rack against Marcus Davanzati on Temur Rhinos.
That's nice because we watched the ARAC player so far, one full match and
Yep.
then a couple of games here and there, but was one of our 6-0 undefeated players in the Swiss with 2 draws afterwards. And honestly, the deck looked great.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how well it performs against what is arguably the most popular deck in the format in Team of Rhinos.
Yeah, Trey's been playing this deck for a long time, adapting it to various metagames. Has it in a great spot right now, so far undefeated, and really interested to see how it lines up against Team of Rhinos. That's the kind of deck that 8-Rack could have trouble against. They can just rip one Shardless Agent off the top, and that's just an abundance of resources that 8-Rack has to deal with before they can progress the rest of their game plan.
Now, I'm curious to see how much the addition of Lorien Revealed actually changes this type of a matchup. Lorien Revealed being a burst of cards way late in the game could potentially unlock the rack, which is just usually holding you down after a certain point, just dealing you tons of damage. The deck is designed to keep you empty-handed, but when you have big bursts of card draw like Lorien Revealed, maybe that changes.
Right, yeah. Lorien Revealed definitely just adding to the pile of top decks that Rhinos could use to get out of that. But the interesting thing is the 8-Rack deck, it's got all those Thoughtseize effects, but also cards like Wrenched Mind and Smallpox can really set you back on all your other resources as well, meaning it might be difficult for Marcus to even get to that 5-mana point to cast Lorien Revealed.
Right, that's certainly true. But the players are sitting down, but they're not quite ready. We'll be heading over there when they are. Just want to say big shout out to Kyle Huck and Taryn Huck. Kyle and Taryn are the co-owners of Apex Gaming. They invited Bomat and I to come here and provide commentary for y'all, and I hope that you've been enjoying the show. With 130 players, you know, this is a monumental success for Apex and the Apex series, and we are so stoked to be a part of it and to be working with these people. We're from Virginia. We have to drive like 5 hours to get here. It is always the best day of the month when I get to
Yeah,
come. So
this is my first time in Caldwell, and it's been great to be here. Apex are fantastic hosts, and I can't wait to come back.
yeah, we had multiple special guests this weekend. I want to say thank you to them. We're going to probably be seeing most of them tomorrow as well. But huge shout out to Corey Baumeister. We had him on stream a ton. His backpack stream had some technical difficulties due to internet stuff beyond our control, but we tried to have him on as many feature matches as we could to make up for it. Unfortunately, he was taken down by Mason Clark in that last round in his win and in. But thank you, Corey, for coming to play today, and we hope to see you tomorrow playing Mono Green Devotion. Also, shout out to Young Dingo, Mikey Bashara, the streamer. He's flew out here and didn't actually have a great day one, but his spirits are high. We've been having a lot of fun with him.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to them. All right. Well, can we just like take 2 seconds? Can we pause for a sec? All right. Well, sorry about that. We are just about ready to go in the feature match area, so let's go on, head on down and watch our top 8 unfold and see if this 8-rack deck can take it down, see if it's the real deal. It's playing against Temur Rhinos, one of the best decks in the format, if not the best deck in the format. And we are underway, but these players are finishing mulliganing. All right, as these players shuffle up here for game number 1, who do you think's going to win? Matt, tell me.
You know what? Trey has just seemed on top of it every single round. I think he definitely has what it takes here. He's just going to completely shut down the Rhinos. He's not worried about it, I don't think.
I think so too. So I think the Team of Rhinos deck's strength comes from being able to utilize extra resources to play the pitch spells.
That's true.
The force negation and subtlety. But those types of things often backfire in the face of 1-for-1 discard and then ultimately Liliana the Veil type strategies and ultimately the rack.
Right. And we did see a couple copies of Inquisition of Kozilek in Trey's hand. It looks like he's keeping. Marcus has lands and spells, bunch of split cards, and he's thinking it over. This might be a mulligan. Yeah, we're gonna try again.
Mulligan against A-Rack's pretty tough, but if your hand can't cast spells, it's okay, right? You gotta keep what you can keep.
One thing I'm definitely curious about is according to the seeding, who is meant to be going first in this match, and I'm interested in whether Trey declined that play. Played him against him at F&M last night. I knew he was on 8-rack. He made me roll the die. He won, and then he took the draw.
That's an old classic from Tom the Boss Ross. He would always choose to draw when he played 8-rack. It was important to allow your opponent, if they were playing like Tarmogoyfs and stuff, you wanted them, A, to be able to play a creature before you smallpoxed.
You're right.
But B, you wanted them to just be one raw resource down. And choosing to draw is exactly the thing you want to do. It's so wild. And it looks like Trey took the draw here. So he wins a die roll every time.
Yeah, what's
Even
it like?
when he loses. I wonder if here's the thing. I want to see if Marcus chooses to be on the draw after if he loses game 1. I want to see what he decides to do. It's always interesting. Here's a Catcher Charm from Marcus, and then Trey is going to play Inquisition of Kozilek and take one of those Cascade spells. But it does leave a Mutavault, which is pretty good with Flame of Venor, as well as a Shardless Agent and a Fire Ice. The Fire Ice could stall out Trey next turn and allow for a Shardless Agent to go unimpeded next turn. But we'll see if Trey has the answer with another cheap discard spell and a Black Source.
True, and it's very interesting to me that Trey decided to take the Violent Outburst first rather than the Shardless Agent, showing that he might prioritize the instant speed nature of Violent Outburst. He really wants to know what his opponent's board is going to look like while he takes his turn.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially considering sorcery effects like Smallpox and Liliana the Veil. You want your opponent to be tapping out on their own turn, so you kind of know what the situation is.
Exactly. And Trey here taking advantage of this Urborg to tap a Mishra's Factory for this Thoughtseize.
All right, here is another discard spell. Inquisition of Kozilek is going to take the Shardless Agent, and then we're left with just Crashing Footfalls, which is more than likely going to be suspended this turn. And then we'll see if Mutavault wants to get into the fray.
Right, and Marcus is not going to be too upset to have this Footfalls on suspend, where Trey can't really interact with it. but it's going to take a while to be cast, and Trey is more than likely going to be able to put together enough answers by that time to not really be threatened. And here comes Mutavault.
All right, Mutavault going to bang the drum. This Waterlogged Grove going to go ahead and suspend Crashing Footfalls, taking a damage as Marcus. And we're going to put 4 time counters on it, and each turn one's going to tick down, eventually casting this powerful sorcery from Modern Horizons 2. It's a focal point for decks like this because it's very easy to enable. You know, you play your
Right.
Shardless Agent, you play your Violent Outburst, and you get 2/4/4s. Every other deck that plays a bunch of Cascade stuff ultimately has to shape their entire deck around the spell resolving,
Right.
whereas Crashing Footfalls is very low maintenance.
Absolutely. We see here Trey making it clear to his opponent that the silent clearing will not be requiring life thanks to Urborg, and Liliana of the Veil hits the table.
All right, we're going to plus, and we're going to each discard, and we'll see what Trey wants to pitch. Probably something like a Thoughtseize, but it looks like he reached for an extra land in the swamp. Mark is going to be discarding that Stomping Ground.
And seeing what he can do with just the top of the deck against 8-Rack.
All right. Do you have the Cascade card? Shocks with a Breeding Pool. Maybe has another Fire Ice and is going to attack with a Mutavault. Maybe has Subtlety. We'll
Yeah,
see.
this definitely looks like a subtlety to me, but
Okay.
uh, it's still good to be able to flash it in, dodge this edict effect from Liliana, the -2. But you're also, not getting much value out of it. Not
And,
that the 8-Rack deck has many creatures or planeswalkers.
right.
Really just the lilies.
And Trey still does have to discard to the Lily, so it's a plus economy for Marcus in the all things considered. But it looks like we do have the answer with Sheoldred's Edict, and that's going to take care of the subtlety. And Liliana going to be pretty high on loyalty. And here's the rack, 3 damage a turn, bang.
The clock has started. I
So hard to
choose
get out from under
Marcus.
this.
There it is.
Here's the rack, 3 damage a turn. Down to 14 is Marcus. We can send in the Mutavaults. We can draw a card to the Waterlogged Grove. Let's see what he wants to do.
Yeah, these Horizon lands from Modern Horizons are pretty important in the 8-Rack matchup. Trey's got to be super cognizant of that. If you can save that Waterlogged Grove until your opponent's end step, you draw a card with it. Your opponent does not get the chance to take that with a Thoughtseize, and then that's at the very least 1 less life you're losing off the rack. And also a spell you might get to cast.
Yeah, draws Lore Revealed, but can't cast it here to draw the 3. Decides to go ahead and get an island. This means that we can activate Mutavault and crack Waterlogged Grove without taking any damage. And also, we get to use our card instead of having it get discarded by Liliana. We're going to attack it down to 3. Back trade Natalie's Way. We're going to draw. It's a Swamp. Hand is a weak discard spell in Swamp. We can pop Silent Clearing ourselves. We can also use our Mistress Factory to play defense. I like that.
Right, absolutely. That's what Factory is great at, right? You activate it and then tap it before blocks, make it a 3/3. Lines up pretty well against Mutavault. Not something that Factory has had to that Mutavault had to deal with for a long time until Modern Horizons 2.
All right, looks like we're holding on. Not going to tick up to Liliana. Holding on to the discard spell to wait for Marcus to have one in hand. We go into turn, pop Waterlogged Grove, and then we draw for turn. Crashing Footfalls is looming. Rack only dealt 2 damage. We'll see if Marcus wants to go ahead and put something else onto the table. Mistress Factory does play defense quite well. It's notable as being able to pump itself to a 3/3 after declaring itself as a blocker. So that old school card just dominant in combat against 2/2s.
Right. I remember very well one of the first drafts I played was some master set, and my opponent definitely used the Mishra's Factory trick, and I was like, "What are you talking about? There's no way."
Oh, we have it! Here comes Mutavault. We're going to go for Flame of
Wow.
Venor. Destroy an artifact and draw 2 cards. This is the reason to play Mutavault in the deck because it allows for Flame of Venor to do exactly this. Plus, the Mutavault, it's colorless, but it still taps for mana and does some pretty cool stuff with, Lore Revealed, and it pressures the opponent. So, a lot to love about Mutavault, especially with Flame of Venor.
Right. So after some brief discussion, it was decided that Fire Ice is not a valid choice for Inquisition of Kozilek. Has a total mana value of 4, so Force Negation will be discarded here. Marcus has a Beseiju and that Fire Ice. And
Ooh.
a second rack effect in Shrieking Affliction is going to hit the table here. And that is going to be active in Marcus's upkeep as he's being discarded down to 1 card in hand.
Okie dokie. Well, now that the rack is gone, it's just Shrieking Affliction now, and we've already discarded with the Liliana. It's at 4, so it's not really in danger. I wouldn't mind if I was Trey to actually attack for 2 with the Mistress Factory.
Uh, I suspect Trey. Yep. Oh, there we go. So the Mutavault will be able to tick down the Liliana, but it'll at least be able to trade for one Rhino off this Crashing Footfalls, which is probably the best you can hope for from Trey.
Well, depending on the draw from Marcus, if it's a Subtlety or Fury or something like that, it can get stuck in hand, and then Lily might just have incentive to tick up.
That's true. Trey might be able to race these Rhinos actually, if especially if he can find another copy of one of these 8 racks.
Right. All right. Now, did we miss the Shrieking Affliction, or were there too many cards in hand for Marcus?
It's a good question. I would expect Trey to be on top of that, so I'm going to trust him with this one.
All right. Well, we're going to go back Trey's way, draws for turn, a big bag of nothing, and we're back to Marcus's side of things. Shrieking Affliction currently offline. Trey maybe has a removal spell for one of these Rhinos. Going to hold back the Mistress Factory to block. We have 3 mana being tapped. That's a full paid Dismember, and one of these Rhinos is going to get knocked off unless Marcus has protection. Let's see what he's got. That's a big bag of nothing. 4 damage coming across. Trey down to 14. See if Marcus has any pressure to apply. It doesn't. Passes his turn.
And there we see Marcus's life total was updated. Shrieking Affliction at least active this turn.
Okay. Here's
Pithing Needle.
Probably going to name Mutavault.
Not bad. And after that, Marcus actually didn't activate in response, so wouldn't be able to block with that Mutavault. But the Dead Gone is going to be live here for Marcus. Both creature lands now out of action.
All right.
Affliction trigger, Marcus is down to 4.
But got 2 cards in hand, so if there's a brick from Trey, can just hold on to those cards and not take damage with the Affliction.
Right.
Something like Raven's Crime would be nice here because it means a discard spell this turn, and then maybe one next turn if we draw a land. There's now Spell Bomb. That one's
okay.
That one's a redraw. We can go ahead and pop that and draw. Exile the Grave. Really just want anything that says make you discard a card.
And that looked kind of like a swamp to me.
Okay, if it's a swamp, then that means Marcus is going to be in the driver's seat, going up to 3 cards here in hand. Has, I believe, a Force and Negation in hand, so can sit on that one and protect himself in the worst case scenario. Wrench Mind no longer active to be able to knock the hand down. Raven's Crime, however, could be good. There's just Funeral Charm. Not enough.
Not this Rhino might close the door. Just 2 more attacks for Marcus. This Shrieking Affliction is several cards away from being online. And it's looking in Marcus's favor right now. See how Trey wants to deploy this Funeral Charm. Just main phase,
Bomb.
get one of those cards out of there.
We used to call that Noggin Whack. There's a card from, I believe, Onslaught block. It's either Onslaught or Odyssey block, but it was just like 1 black, your opponent discards a card, and then it had to like flashback for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's something.
Bang.
Bang.
It's like the world's worst mind rot.
Yeah.
All right, another swamp drawn, and Trey Natalie going to be packing in here for game 1. Marcus Davanzati with Temur Rhinos. Up a game against Trey's currently undefeated 8 rack. Now, we saw Trey defeat Temur Rhinos earlier in the event, but looks like Flame of Venor might be the big change there that helps win the day.
Right. That's a big difference between Marcus's deck and the previous Rhinos player we had seen on stream. Marcus has this full Flame of Venor package, complete with the Mutavaults. Definitely not planning for this matchup, but incidentally an excellent card against 8 rack. He's going to be hoping to keep drawing those. Let's take a look at sideboards. For Trey Natalie on 8 rack, we're looking at 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Shadow of Doubt, 2 Delirium Skeins, 1 Fatal Push, 1 Collective Brutality, 1 Pithing Needle, 1 Nile Spellbomb, 1 Bantu's Last Reckoning, and 1 Turok Dread Cantor.
All right, so if I'm in the 8 rack seat, I'm thinking some sweepers might be in order. You know, like you want to clean up these Rhinos in like a 1-for-1 type scenario. How do you feel about the Bantu's Last Reckoning? Is this the matchup for Bantu's Last Reckoning?
I don't know. It's just a single copy in Trey's sideboard. Doesn't seem like something he's really leaning on. The Rhinos matchup, they can put out this pressure, but they could keep it coming. And it's definitely super punishing to only be able to play spells for 1 out of 2 turns. Um, so I will be interested to see whether Trey pulls that in. I would personally skip it. Just you have so much efficient interaction like
Sure.
Fatal Push that can keep the Rhinos at bay. We will be seeing the probably the Fatal Push. I don't know, just keeping those Rhinos at bay and Collective Brutality maybe. No, you know what? Probably not. There's not actually a whole lot going on in Trey's sideboard for the Rhinos matchup, but most of the cards in his main deck are live.
Yeah.
So
Would be nice to see something like the three Chalice of the Void package that we see in a lot of these like more interactive decks sideboards.
right,
That could be helpful for him.
but Trey has decided he is good with the discard spells for the most part in those
Yep.
matchups. Now, moving on to Marcus's Rhino sideboard, we see 2 more copies of Flame of Anor, 2 Force of Vigor, 2 Fury, 2 Obsidian Charmaw, 3 Endurance, 1 Boseiju who endures, 1 Brotherhood's End, 1 Questing Beast, and 1 Commandeer. Again, for this matchup, we're definitely going to be seeing the Flame of Anors. The Force of Vigors actually are going to be great in this matchup. We didn't see any that game, but Trey's 8-rack deck is definitely playing 4 copies of Urza's Saga, and Force of Vigor is exactly what you need to pull yourself out of the Urza's Saga type matchups. Uh, Other than that, we're going to be seeing out of Marcus's deck probably the 4 Dead Gone. Very few targets in this deck.
Yeah.
Can't even take out Urza Saga's tokens at most points of the game. So probably a clean swap for those Dead Gones out, the Flame of Anors, and Force of Vigors in.
Okay. Cool deal. Thanks for that. Well, as these players shuffle up here for game number 2, our 8-rack player Trey is going to be on the play with this awesome deck that he cruised through the Swiss with 602 record. Down a game here, back against the wall, but I have faith.
Yeah,
I've seen this deck do some really cool stuff over the weekend so far, and I think he's got 2 more game wins in him. What do you think?
absolutely.
All right. Also, shout out to our sponsors for this weekend. We are sponsored here at Apex Gaming by Ultimate Guard. Thank you so much for Ultimate Guard for sponsoring the Apex series with huge amounts of Ultimate Guard product that we use in our swag bags for the Apex Invitational qualifiers. If you're curious about an Apex Invitational qualifier near you, make sure to go to apexgaming.gg to find your nearest one. And thanks again to Ultimate Guard for being a sponsor. Also, shout out to G Fuel Energy Formula with 8 rounds of Swiss today and top 8 all being cast. I've already drank a G Fuel and I needed it, and it's honestly, I might need another one by the
Yeah,
end of the night.
yeah.
And shout out to Wings, etc. Grown Pup. I cannot wait to be inside you. I cannot wait to go. I cannot wait to go to Wings, etc. It's so close and so far away. I want those cauliflower wings so badly.
It's in your future, Todd.
And I
We'll be
want
there.
I want cheese fries. And with the Jamaican jerk tater tots.
We had some pretzel bites last night.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
a pretzel guy, Todd.
Yeah. I look, I'm a pretzel guy when pretzels are called for, but you're a different type of pretzel guy animal. And I'm not gonna blast you too bad, but I just want to say that one of the very first times I interacted with Matt, we were having poker night over at his place.
Yeah.
And he just like whips out a big old like I don't know bucket of pretzels, and I was like, ooh, are those the like peanut butter filled pretzels? He's like, no. And I was like, are those unsalted pretzels? Were they unsalted
No, of
pretzels?
course not. This
Okay.
was just your garden variety economy size pretzel rod bucket.
Imagine your grandma goes to Sam's Club and she says, I'm gonna go get pretzels. That is what Matt was munching on, like they
Yeah.
were candy.
Grandmas know what's up.
That's true.
My
Grandmas do know what's
It's funny you say that. My grandma literally had one of those in her house, and I remember it very well. Anyway,
maybe that is what shattered your sense of what food is supposed to taste like.
for the better, I'd say. You can't malign my grandma like that.
Oh,
All
sorry.
right,
No, your grandma's great.
Magic the Gathering.
Yes, we are here for game number 2. Trey Natalie going to be on the play. It looks like Marcus did mulligan, and we are about ready to start here. Both players taking a mulligan to 6, and Trey going to be on the play. Let's see what the turn 1 play is.
Trey with the choice, and decides to be on
Chose
the draw. Chose
Oh,
the
yeah.
draw.
Love it. Draws for turn. Has a hand that looks like a bunch of discard spells. Raven's Crime, Thought Seize, Smallpox somewhere in there. Dismember. Okay, so has a lot of things checked. A lot of
Right.
1-for-2s though, right? Those removal spells relatively weak against the Crashing Footfalls because you have to have 2 of them to deal with the 2 Rhinos.
Right. Let's see what Marcus is working with. We do have that Force of Vigor, some counter spells, and one Cascade spell.
So the Force of Vigor to me stands out as the most potentially devastating, but if I'm Trey, I think you can just kind of play around that for a while, and
Right.
I just take the Cascade spell. The two Force of Negations, right? If they want to pitch two cards to deal with your one the Rack or one Liliana the Veil, I think you're just more than happy to do that. I'm
Right.
actually really surprised to see Marcus with Force of Negation still in his deck, but maybe the sideboard just doesn't offer enough resources to get it out of the deck, and being able to stop something like Smallpox in a tight spot is worth the 2-for-1 on yourself.
Exactly.
All right.
Smallpox particularly devastating when you're all you want to do in life is cast 3 mana spells.
All right. No fetch from Marcus, trying to keep the lands dense in his deck so that he can draw one more, more likely to draw one. We're going to go for a Raven's Crime. Bonk.
Your choice.
Yep.
One of the forces out of there.
And Inquisition. We're going to get another force out of there. We're going to see the good news. It's just another force. We're going to take it because Inquisition can't take Force of Vigor.
And
now,
Marcus really nothing going on. And Trey, has a Mishra's Factory if he needs to get the pressure going. Is perfectly content not having drawn an Urza Saga yet against that Force of Vigor. And this is kind of perfect for Trey. Marcus once again misses a land drop. If Trey wants to, he could roll out a Shrieking Affliction and a Smallpox this turn. But instead, we're going to get the pressure on with Mishra's Factory while it still can.
all right. Marcus really needing to draw a land, obviously, to hit the third land drop, but doesn't really have much to do with it, even if he does hit the land. That will allow him to essentially hold up Force Negation to counter the next thing, maybe. Hardcast Force Negation is something that is pretty decent in the matchup.
Right. And Shrieking Affliction, Marcus is saying not quite low enough yet, but gotta sneak that in while you can. And once again, missing a land is Marcus. I think Trey has been trying to hold on to this smallpox for a creature. I'm wondering at what point he just decides that stifling Marcus's mana even further is worth it.
Well, I got one thing for you. He's got Shadow of Doubt in hand. That Shadow of Doubt
Ah,
is just waiting, chomping at the bit to be cast in response to this Misty Rainforest sacrifice. Marcus trying so badly to draw a land and just can't find it. But here it is. Catcher of Traum is tapped. How long are you going to wait, Trey Natalie? How long? Here is Inquisition of Kozilek.
you
We're
know,
going to take a look at the hand.
if Marcus is wise to it, he could actually hold on to this fetch land for a really long time given this Urborg in play.
That's true.
But
Call.
you have to be aware of the Shadow of Doubt for that to be the case. And we see Marcus demolishing his own hand to get those racks off the battlefield, and is left with some counterspells and a Fire Ice.
All right, so we're going to take one of these cards from hand. My guess, Fire Ice.
This is actually an Inquisition of Kozilek, and Fire Ice is a 4 mana spell.
You're right. That's true.
So
Good
we got
call.
Counterspell or Counterspell. And here we see what I was talking about. Marcus' sideboard, not a whole lot to be brought in, and you definitely want to prioritize cutting the Dead Gons, which is why we still see Mystical Dispute in the deck
Sure.
post-board.
A lot of 3-mana counterspells, the later the game goes, they can certainly be useful.
Right.
Counterspells traditionally not great against discard decks, but I don't know. It's like a pull, right?
Yeah,
It's a very extreme type of discard that the smallpox decks really attack you with, and so counterspells can be okay because the games just go on quite long.
right. And Trey still has these power points in the racks, where he's really looking to resolve those at certain points. And if you can get lucky and happen to trade off with that instead of a discard spell, you can buy yourself a lot of time.
All right, so Marcus here has the option to ice a land during the inset, but maybe just saving it to deal 2 damage to the Mishra's Factory. Curious, I thought he might go for it there. But here's a fetch. In response, we're biting Shadow of Doubt.
And
Do you want to go for it? Oh, it's blue.
that's the blue card.
Got him. 1-for-1. Love it. Fetch line resolves. We're going to get a Breeding Pool tapped. We're going to go back Marcus's way looking for one of those powerful Cascade spells so we can Crashing Footfalls, and that'll put Trey very far behind.
Right. Marcus really it seems like trying to look for a good spot to trade this Fire Ice off. He could get a card out of it right now, but if it's the wrong kind of card, that could just end up getting discarded to something like a Smallpox or Liliana of the Veil at some point. So he's really trying to be judicious, and we'll see if he ends up pulling the trigger on maybe this Mishra's Factory.
All right, so we drew a second Smallpox, and with the Urborg, we can actually just cast both. I would love to see double Smallpox and just rip Marcus's hand and lands off the battlefield. But it looks like Trey is just waiting for the Crashing Footfalls to resolve before going for it. You
Right.
know, oh, here is a Violent Outburst. Is this end of turn, or is this mid-combat? If it's mid-combat, it would be pretty devastating for Trey, but I think it's after damage is already done.
I agree. That's what it looks like. So Marcus, deciding the Mishra's Factory is not worth potentially losing one of these Rhinos to a sorcery speed card in either Smallpox or Liliana of the Veil. Wants to get that 8 damage in without disruption, if at all possible.
Yeah, and also you just don't really care about your life total that much in this spot, right? You're
Right.
like pretty far from dying, even if a rack comes off the top, and you still have 3 cards in hand, so the rack's not even scary.
Right.
All right, so back Marcus's way. I assume double Smallpox is coming next turn, but now he can protect them via one of those counter spells if he still has a Force or Mystical Dispute hanging out in his hand. We have 2 mana. Dismember. We're going to take 2 damage. See if Marcus wants to react. Down to 16. Gonna let it happen. 4 damage comes through, down to 12.
Rhino down.
Let's see if Marcus wants to deploy any more pressure. Just passes the turn. Trey draws Pithy Needle. I would love a double Smallpox, but, you know.
Yeah. Trey definitely seems committed to trading these Smallpoxes for creatures where at all possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's reasonable. And it looks like here Marcus is going to fight over this with some sort of counter spell. Or maybe if he drew another Violent Outburst, could go for that. Oh, he did.
Wow.
Wow. That's sick. I wouldn't even, if he has 2 blue cards here, I wouldn't even mind going Force Negation on the Smallpox too. Just to threaten lethal next turn.
Right. And this the second Smallpox is going to get cast this turn. But now Trey is facing down still a Rhino on the board after using his 2 removal spells. But Marcus, notably, if the second Smallpox does get cast and resolves, Marcus is going to have 1 land in play, and really not a lot of latitude to make use of the cards coming off the top.
All right, well, unless Marcus wants to go for a Force of Negation here, this first Smallpox looks like it's going to resolve. See what we discard. Discards a Force of Vigor, sacrifices a Rhino.
Looks like we're doing life totals first. There goes the Rhino, and
All right, and here's another one. Smallpox you again. Oh, we got to lose the land as well. So we got to lose the forest, and we're going to lose the breeding pool. Fire Ice down, token down. So 2 lands, no hand, versus 4/4, 1 land. Life totals are pretty close. Trey on the back foot, gonna need to draw an answer pretty quick.
this could honestly go either way,
I
but
agree.
Trey does need to draw a good one.
Here's 4, down to 6. Draws for turn. Is it a removal spell? It's a Mishra's Factory. That
Wow.
actually is so sick.
Yeah.
We can make the Mishra's Factory into a 4/4. So
Marcus is saying, hey, I feel like I might be running into something here. Let me read those. But he'll still be trading the Rhino off just for a land.
Yeah, I could wait for like a Fire Ice or some sort of interaction to make it a not a trade and make it a win.
Right. There's actually not a whole lot Marcus probably has in his deck post board that can interact in that way.
Here's a Lore and Revealed Cycle. We're gonna go get a land and play it, and then my guess is no attack. But
yeah.
trading the Rhino for a Mishra's Factory does not sound great here. If I'm being honest.
Right. And this works out just as well for Trey. 3 mana spells are now live off the deck, like Liliana of the Veil. And, you know, Marcus
Maybe that's
doesn't
the
attack
reason
it.
to attack.
That's
because
true.
It turns
Yeah.
on Liliana and those other 3 mana cards.
The spot where you kind of have to think about, like, I might not want this to happen. Oh, jeez.
Now we win the fight.
Now we win. But that prior turn, if you're Marcus, you're thinking about whether I want this to happen, but you also have to be thinking about what does my opponent want to happen here?
Right.
And if you decide, it's possible Trey wouldn't be happy with trading this off, but there's a good one as well.
Yeah, let's hope we have another Crashing Footfalls left. Here it is, and two more Rhinos are going to come. That's either the third or fourth Crashing Footfalls, and without Endurance, I don't know if we can make any more pressure. I don't know that we need to make any more pressure.
Really doesn't look like it. Best case scenario for Trey is that Bantu's Last Threatening is still in the deck.
Okay, drew in a Swamp. Life totals are 6 to 11. I believe the game is coming to an end this turn. We can only block with 2 creatures, and that means 6 damage is going to be coming across.
Right.
And no matter how many times your Mishra's factories pump each other, it's going to be a Jeej.
Trey just coming to terms with the board state. Never a great spot to be.
Trying to figure out if there's any blocking combination that saves him. And if Marcus just declares all out attacks, this will be Marcus punching a ticket to the top 4, securing himself a micro bag of $500 dues as he makes
Yeah.
his way towards that final prize of $1,500. I only say dollar dues because of one person. Can you guess who?
I definitely know it. Is it a Simpsons character?
Well, it's a Simpsons reference, and I say it because of Ross.
Yep, that makes sense.
Anyway, back.
Swamp comes down. Trey might be trying to get fancy with these factories, but I still don't think the math tech checks out.
Yeah, just block one. You can't activate all 3. 6 damage gets through. Trample happens, maybe not. Doesn't matter. If Devonzotti attacks with everything here, it's gonna lock up a win and top 4. Really, really tight spot, but
Double and
he
triple
has the
checking.
win. Decides
And
to
here
shove.
they come.
All right, let's see if Trey tries to block, but we know he can't.
There's
He
the
knows
hand.
he can. He extends it. Marcus Davanzati wins your first quarterfinal match and punches his ticket to the top 4, winning a minimum cash prize of $500.
Congratulations to Marcus, and also congratulations to Trey Natalie for going undefeated through the Swiss, and just showing everyone that maybe 8-rack still playable in Modern today.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's how it goes, right? You win 6 in a row, you draw twice, you go eat dinner, you come back, and then you're a fatted calf ready for the slaughter.
Right.
And you sit down, and your opponent has just been scrapping
Yep.
for every win, and
Battle
they are
hardened.
so ready, and you're just like relaxed, and they are just
Yeah.
like on survival mode or whatever.